On most of the pews, there should be some yellow scrap paper, all righty? I'm not sure how many are on each pew, but feel free to get up and grab yourself a yellow sheet of paper. There's also some pins scattered around the sanctuary. Make sure that you get one of those, all righty? So everybody needs a yellow piece of paper. Does anybody need one? Right here, take these two here. I'll just put these here, all righty? There's, again, it looks like there's on the end of each pew. If you already have scrap paper, then you can use your own. But if you don't, then feel free to use that. Thank you, Pastor Stan, for leading us in worship. Appreciate that. That was great. Psalm 37. Psalm 37. Decided to give Johnny, it's Johnny, right? Oh, okay. Decided to give the PowerPoint off, all righty? So no PowerPoint today, all righty? Because it's just going to be a different kind of a sermon. Psalm 37, jump down to verse 25. Psalm 37, 25. I was young, and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread. Also in Psalm, go to Psalm chapter 71. Psalm 71 and verse 17. Psalm 71, 17. Since my youth, O God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds. Now go forward to Deuteronomy. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, boom, Deuteronomy. You should see it right there. End of the book, chapter 32. Deuteronomy. And verse 7. Deuteronomy 32, 7 says, remember the days of old. Consider the generations long past. Ask your father, and he will tell you, your elders, and they will explain to you. Very different kind of a service. I'm going to give you the permission to doodle and daydream. Righty? I'm going to give you the focus, and feel free, if you even pay attention to this, feel free, that's okay to do this. But also as you daydream, as you write on your piece of paper, that's fine with me. So what I want you to do with your scrap piece of paper is at the top in the corner, it doesn't need to be real large or anything, just of course write the year 2024. 2024. And we're going to make this look like a 5th grade math equation. And then I want you to write the year that you graduated from high school. Some of you are even thinking that you remember. What do I remember what year you graduated? Or if you didn't graduate from high school when you were 18 or 17, your choice. All righty? Then put that, of course, right under 2024. Do a little subtraction and come up with how many years ago did you graduate? Or how many years ago were you 17 or 18? Right? Some of you are even alarmed when you see the number, right? Isn't that amazing? Wow. All of the numbers will put us into 3 categories, give or take 5 years. Righty? So if I highlight a category, you're like, come on, not me. Well, then give yourself 5 years and move it to another category, okay? But give or take 5 years, all righty? Those of you with a much smaller number, perhaps 20 or below, Give or take 5 years. That's up to you. All righty? Those of you with the similar number, 20 to 50 years ago you graduated. And those of you with a larger number, 50 or higher. 50 or higher. All righty? Let's take the third category first, 50 or higher since you graduated. Larger number, more than likely you have no hair, gray hair, or blue hair, or fake hair. Hopefully you don't mow the grass anymore. You are mature, experienced believers. Churches need your stability. However, maturity doesn't breed muscles. Does that make sense? Maturity doesn't breed muscles. Brings us to the first group, smaller, 20 or below. In other words, you graduated 20 years ago or less. All righty? You have the ability to do things, your involvement with your hands, whereas the first group is involvement with your wallets. When it comes to church, this group, you're involved with your hands. Third group, that group right in the middle, 20 to 50. You got some muscles and some maturity. You're not ready to start going to McDonald's every morning. But you're also not ready to sign up on every sign-up sheet for every church activity, right? More than likely, you've already been contacted by AARP, and you probably got a Buckeye card, right? We're right there in the middle, righty? Because this is me, I've just some things about us, and I'm not sure if this is a majority, 20 to 50. We've seen holiness, and we've seen hype. We've seen character and charisma. We've seen influence and affluence. Listen, we've seen fluff, stuff, and we've been through the rough. Right? Listen, we shake our head at the young and wonder where their common sense left. But we also at a loss for words when we see the senior citizens taking sugar packets from Cracker Barrel and stocking up freebies and stockpiling peanut butter and tuna fish, and they have more medicine bottles on their windowsill than we know what to do with. We look at that older group going, what? I'll never take sugar packets from Cracker Barrel. Yes, we will. And before you leave Cracker Barrel, you will find yourself asking for another jar of syrup so you can take it home. All this morning in all of these three categories, we are going to reminisce. About what, Pastor Dan? We're going to reminisce about how good God has been since we graduated high school. All those years ago. So, I'm going to read my list. We're going to go through years. So actually I've got 43 points because it's been 43 years since I graduated. But we're not going to spend too much time on each one. But we're going to stop every so often. And I'm going to say this, which means you have to get ready to talk if you want to. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. And then we're going to pause. So some of you could be like, you know what, 40 years ago, this happened, or 25 years ago, this happened. So as you're on your piece of paper, as we write, this is where you can daydream and doodle. Feel free to say, write on your paper, it was this year that I found Jesus. It was this year that I came to this church, whatever. So when we come up to that year, and I'm going to pause, responses from the church, feel free to say, Pastor Dan, 20 years ago, boom, this is what happened. All right? And feel free to throw some bad stuff in there too, because I've got some bad stuff on my list, okay? So feel free, ready, daydream, doodle, whatever you want to be, all righty? 43 years ago, 1981, high school graduation. And in the fall of 1981, I moved to Florida after my dad retired from the Air Force. 42 years ago, in 1982, I enrolled at Southeastern College down in Lakeland, Florida. 41 years ago, in 1983, I chose to stay out of college. So I went to Bible school my first year, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go home, and I don't feel called to the ministry. So I chose to go freshman year at Southeastern, and then I stayed home in Pensacola because I just didn't think that I needed to go back to Bible school. I didn't feel called to the ministry. Worst year spiritually for me, the year that I stayed out. Worst year. But one night on a Wednesday night, everybody say Wednesday night. It was a Wednesday night. I was in the college and career class because I'd already graduated high school. So I'm hanging out. Our church didn't have a pastor at the time, so we had an interim pastor. And the interim pastor's wife was teaching the youth. And I'm in the youth class, and honestly, I was not paying attention at all what she was talking about. But in my own mind, while she's up there talking, I'm on the back row. Yes, the back row, because when you're not where you're spiritually, you're near the back row. No offense to anybody in the back. I'm sitting in the back, and I've got a striped shirt on. That's important for the story. And I said to myself, the next time somebody asks you, what are you going to do? What are you going to tell them? Because everybody knew that I went to Southeastern College. Everybody knows I went to Bible school because we were up on the stage. Hey, everybody, anytime you're going to go to Bible school, wonderful. That's how they get it. But I didn't feel like that. But at some point, I said to myself, what are you going to say? The next time somebody says, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to say? And I said to myself, quietly, nobody knows what's going on. And I said to myself, I think I should go in the ministry. As soon as I said that in class, the interim pastor's wife up front, she said, you with the striped shirt in the back row, God said there's a door open for you. And she went right on with what she was talking about. Yeah, jaw drop. I went home and I told my mom and dad, I think I'm supposed to go in the ministry. They said, we knew it'd be, we'd want to tell you because we wanted you to do it, not do it for us. So back to the scroll. 40 years ago in 1984, I went back to Southeastern. 39 years ago in 1985 was my mom and dad's 25th wedding anniversary. This is important. Because for my parents to be married 25 years, all I remember is like, man, my parents are so old. They'd been married I wasn't even married then. I hadn't even met Tammy then. My parents are so old. They'd been married for 25 years, 1985, 39 years ago. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. Anybody got anything? 81, 82, 83, 84, 85? Anything significant? Crickets, crickets, crickets. All righty, we're going to go on. All righty, 38 years ago in 1986 was my senior year at Southeastern, and that was the year that I met Tammy. 1986, went back to Southern my senior year. Most of the college guys went to the same church. Tammy had a church background. Tammy's roommate used to date a guy that was in my hall. And so when I saw Patty, I said, hey, how are you and Howard? Oh, we broke up, but I brought a roommate from Youngstown. So her and Patty had an apartment off campus. They didn't go to school. They'd already graduated. But we all went to the same church, so that's kind of how we met. So really we had me and my two roommates and Tammy and her two roommates. There was 6 of us. And don't hold me against it, I had a van because my parents had a van, and they were in Alaska at the time. And my dad's like, just drive the van. I know, a van on a college campus, terrible. Terrible. So the 6 of us, we just went everywhere. We just did everything. We went to groceries together. We bought groceries for their apartment. We bought groceries for our college campus apartment. That was 1986. 1987, 37 years ago, college graduation in May, married in October. If you're young, put this story out. I met Tammy in August, and we got married in October of the following year. Only a year and 2 months. Don't let your parents know that. I didn't even want my son and daughter to know that. A year and 2 months, but guess what? 37 years later, we're still together. I can't believe it. Yeah, I met her in August. I proposed in March, and we got married in October. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts. Go ahead and say it's nuts. Oh, yeah, it really is. 36 years ago in 1988, we moved to Glassport, Pennsylvania. Oh, after we got married, our honeymoon was our move to Alaska. Isn't that crazy? Our move to Alaska was our honeymoon. The hotel van picked us up at the airport in Seattle, and that was our move. She had 2 suitcases. I had 2 suitcases. She had a big cardboard box. I had a big cardboard box. And the hotel van picked us up, and he's driving going, is this your honeymoon? We had 6 pieces of luggage on our honeymoon. But that was where we moved to Alaska. Anyways, I digress. 1988, we moved to Glassport, Pennsylvania. 1989, we moved away from Glassport, Pennsylvania, because my first full-time ministry position was the worst position that I was ever in. A year and a month. What? I felt so horrible because I was ruining the average stay of a youth pastor. Average stay of a youth pastor, 2.5 years, and I was only a year and a month. It was the pastor that I said yes to. 3 months after I said yes to, he turned on me like that. And I did, as one radio preacher says, I saturated that place with my absence. And I knew I couldn't do what God had called me to do in that place. So 1988, 1989, we moved back to Youngstown. We lived with Tammy's parents. In fact, her bedroom growing up was our bedroom. Isn't that crazy? We moved back there. Moved back to the house. Back to the house. Tail tucked between our legs, and we ran back home. And Tammy's parents said, you can live here. Feel free to live here. And it was about that time, I'm sure Tammy's thinking, what kind of guy did I marry? After we got married, we were standing in Cleveland Airport ready to fly out for our honeymoon, and Sonny looked me right in the eye, and he said, just don't ever let her come home crying. That was her words to me. And I'm sure at some point she probably was crying like, what? I didn't have a job. I was working manpower. You know what? Is there manpower around here? Manpower or whatever it's called. So I had to call in each day. I wasn't sure what I was doing. So I ended up working for, I worked for a Tupperware place, and then I worked for a store in the mall. I did a forklift job, and that's just what I did. And sure, Tammy's thinking like, oh man, what is this guy ever going to work in the ministry? Because guess what she's doing? She's an RN. She's always been the breadwinner, always. And I'm barely making $7 an hour. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. Are we having fun yet? Anybody? 1986, 87, 88, 89, 1990? Anything significant? Anybody? Anybody? Come on, are you guys going to talk or not? Or you just want to get out of here? Because it's 22. Okay, let's keep going. 33 years ago in 1991, we bought our first house. Became first full-time at Bethel. Full-time at Bethel. On the same day, Pastor Wagers said, guess what? We want you to work full-time here at the church. And on the same day, we bought our first house. Same day. It was amazing. I was so happy. Oh, man, I'm working full-time at a church. And finally, I'm like, Tammy, I'm in the ministry. How long did it take me? 5 years. It took 5 years. She didn't give up on me. 32 years ago in 1992, we went on a missions trip to Mexico City. This is important. 1992, went on a missions trip to Mexico City. And guess what other church was working with Bethel Assembly in Mexico City? Anybody want to guess what other church was working in Mexico City in 1992? Boom, First Assembly right here. Our church was on Team A. First Assembly Ashtabula, led by Pastor Dwayne, was on Team B. We met every morning for breakfast, and then Team B went to a site, and Team A went to a site. Pastor Ball was there. Near the end, Pastor Ball came up to me, and he goes, guess what? At some point, we're going to need a youth pastor. We'd love to see if you might come. Thank you very much, but I'm loving working in Youngstown. Appreciate that very much. 1993, 31 years ago, Pastor Ball called. Can we meet for like breakfast or something? Drove up here. I think it was that restaurant down there. What's it called now? Down there. What is it? Mr. C's. Listen, I had a blast working with you in Mexico City. We're without a youth pastor. Would you please just consider coming and being our youth pastor? I met some of the people at First Assembly because we did the morning break, we did morning devotions, we did afternoons, we worked together. Appreciate that, Pastor Ball. But I really like living in Youngstown. We got a great youth group. My wife's got a beautiful job. 3 months later, Pastor Ball calls again. Would you please just think about it? Think about it. I thought about it. I prayed about it. And in 1993, might be Hollywood. Maybe. We were having a youth event that night at the house, 1993. Kids were coming over. And that was the day that I told my wife, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I really feel that we're supposed to go to Ashtabula First Assembly to be the youth pastors. And you know what she did? She picked up the stack of plates and she threw it at me. Styrofoam plates went all over the kitchen. She goes, what? She goes, you know, I got a great job. Do you see the youth group's going great? Why? Why am I going to do this? I just feel we're supposed to go to Ashtabula. At that time, she worked for 2 doctors. She went the next day, told the 2 doctors, I feel that I'm supposed to go with my husband to Ashtabula. These are 2 Jewish doctors that she worked with. 2 Jewish doctors. They said, listen, we've been meaning to tell you this for a couple months, but we weren't sure how to tell you. But we have to downsize, and we were going to have to let you go. Here's 2 weeks' pay, and the Jewish doctors said this might be a sign from God that you're supposed to go to Ashtabula. What? 1994, 30 years ago, here at Ashtabula. And the pastor that I wanted to work with, Pastor Dan Ball, came into my office and he said, I'm resigning, I'm moving to Chicago, you want to come with me? And I said, if I do, you'd have to find a place and hire a lawyer because I will be divorced and I'm going to need money for divorce. I said, I can't go with you, Pastor Ball. We're supposed to stay here. We're supposed to stay here. That was 1994. But guess what? In 1994, after 3 years of infertility, Megan was born. She was born at Ashtabula Medical Center. I think it was Dr. Kim. Does that sound right, Mary Jane? Was there a Dr. Kim or was it Dr. Wu? Was there a Wu and a Kim? Right, Wu and a Kim? That sounds like a restaurant. Wu and a Kim, come on in. One of the doctors that was Tammy's doctor was on call, and the other one decided to show up. And so she had an appointment. It was afterwards, and Dr. Wu, Dr. Kim said, today, you have baby, today. Come back in 3 hours. Walk the mall, come back. So sure enough, came back. Tammy's ready to push, and I just remember the doctor going, push, 2 inches from Ashtabula County, push. 30 years ago, 1994. Isn't that amazing? 1995, we resigned from First Assembly and took a senior pastor position in Youngstown. I remember telling God, but I've never been a pastor before. And guess what God said? God said, I'll be the pastor, you be the associate. So I got to stay there. 1995. All right, anybody? Anybody up here? 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Any responses? Right here. 94. I was your pastor. I was dev pastor. There's quite a few. Some of the Shaw kids I had. Isn't that amazing? Wow. And you're still here. Man, it's amazing. You'd think I would have tainted her back then, huh? Anybody else? 94, 95, Mary Jane. Yeah. Yeah. I remember being here and moving in, helping him move into his house down whatever road that was. What a beautiful house that was. I remember that. Oh, really? I remember being here and him writing music and songs. And one of the songs, go figure, if the shoe fits, wear it. Pastor Brian wrote that song, if the shoe fits, wear it. And they did it up here. Isn't that amazing? That was 30 years ago. Listen, Exodus 34 says, the Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. 30 years ago, he was with us. 28 years ago in 1996, Nathaniel came in October. 27 years ago in 1997, I started classes for a master's degree at Malone. So I was pastoring a small church in Howland, a suburb of Youngstown, Warren. And I just felt that I wanted to get more schooling. And Malone was offering a program for masters in the evening. So I picked one evening a week, and it would take me 3 years, and I said, I'm going to do this. I had quite a bit of time at the church to write my papers and all that stuff. So I lost my count. In 1997, I started my master's, and I didn't have any plans at all for what I was going to do with it. But guess what? If I wouldn't have had it, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Isn't that crazy? It took me 13 years to figure out why I went to Malone College for master's back then. Before then, it was just a piece of paper hanging on a wall. I didn't get a raise. I didn't get a letter from anybody. I just had my master's. Whoopee. I had cake after a graduation ceremony. Woohoo! 13 years later, though, if I wouldn't have had my master's, I wouldn't have been able to be a hospice chaplain. 26 years ago in 1998, nothing specific, but Megan is 4 and Nathaniel is 2, and life is crazy with kids. Are you anybody there? Life is crazy with kids, Sherilyn. It's just nuts. 7, unbelievable. You should be on the back rope taking a nap right now. You should go to the corner and take a nap. I only had 2. It's crazy with kids. 1998. And I was pastoring a church, and I'm hoping to grow the church. Tammy's a full-time RN. I had a free enough schedule so that I could be at home when she was at work, be with the kids. Life is crazy with kids. 25 years ago in 1999, I was ready to throw in the towel on pastoring. Forget this stuff. I ain't going to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. The church was behind $3,500 in paying me salary. $3,500. And me being the great servant minister that I said, it's all right. God will meet my needs. And he did. But at that time, I just thought, listen, it's for the church. It's okay. And slowly, over a year and a half time, the checks started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the only thing that I felt I needed to do was get a second job. So I got a job at Kaufman's Warehouse in North Jackson, and I was the Levi jeans unloading guy from the trucks. Any Levi's jeans that you got in a Kaufman store in Youngstown, boom, I unloaded them in the truck. And I got to tell you, I loved it. I'm in there doing stuff with my hands and everything like that. But guess what? A gorilla could do the job that I did because all you did was this. And I had a wheel thing, and I put them on the boom, and down the boxes would go. "24 years ago in the year 2000, I preached a message to Glad Tidings that basically said, the help of a man is useless. And I told the church, listen, this church is $3,000, $3,500 in debt to me, but it's okay. I'm not asking for it. But I feel that God wants me to be here more at the church than in Kaufman's Warehouse. So I'm going to quit my second job. And can I tell you, in 30 weeks, the church paid back all the funds that they owed me and we gained 4 families in 30 weeks in the year 2000. It's crazy. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. Every step of the way. Anybody, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, anything significant happen in those years? You guys are so boring. I think you just want me to finish. Listen, 2 Timothy chapter 2. If we are faithless, he remains faithful. He never jumps ship on us. In 2001, I know this is going to sound funny. You just got the pay. 2001. How many years ago was that? 23 years ago. We resigned from Glad Tidings, went back to Bethel, and in 2001, watched the 9/11 events in the church nursery on the TV. Me and Pastor Wagers, my wife called. Did you see what's going on? Well, the TV. You go see something. So sure enough, me and Pastor Wagers, I'm in a rocking chair. He's standing in the thing, and we watched the 9/11 events in 2001 in the church nursery on the TV. Also, I graduated from Malone with a master's, and kids are involved more and more in sports. 22 years ago in 2002, Megan is 8, Nathaniel is 6, and our life is all sports, piano, school, sports, and Megan was in the school play as a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz. That was the highlight. How boring is life for me when the highlight of your year is your daughter being a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz? But people want to go in the ministry because it's so cool. Oh, au contraire, mon frère. 21 years ago in 2003, the pastor of Bethel began floating the idea to me that he was going to retire, and he encouraged me to be his successor. 20 years ago in 2004, we became pastors at Bethel Assembly because him and his wife retired, went back to Cincinnati. Before that process, I was the associate pastor, and according to the bylaws, I had to step aside to be the associate pastor just because I couldn't be the associate if they didn't vote me in. I couldn't be like, oh, well, sorry you didn't want me. Can I still lead worship or whatever? So I had to step aside from being the associate pastor. But I was still kind of attending the church, and so we're in a prayer circle. We're in a prayer circle on the Wednesday night before my candidating service on Sunday. Wednesday night prayer circle. The main board member's wife is in the prayer circle, and she's standing right next to me. And somebody says, we probably should pray for Sunday. I'm in the circle. And she says, you know, I'm not really sure who I'm voting for. Thank you very much. What? We became pastors. 2005, I successfully reduced the staff of 3 to 1 because not a lot of people liked me. Somebody sent me this poem all those years ago. Oh, 1156, come on. The poem is called If You Want to Kill the Church. Watch out, pick your feet up. Never go to your church or the meetings held there. If you do go, be late. It's no one's affair. If the weather is bad, either too hot or snowing, just stay home and rest. There'll be others who will be going. But should you attend, be sure to remember to find fault with the work, each official and each member. Be sure to hold back on your offerings and tithes. The bills will be paid by the rest of the guys. And never take office if offered the post, but eagerly criticize the work of the host. And if not on a committee you're placed, then be sore. If you find that you are, then don't attend anymore. When asked your opinion on this thing or that, have nothing to say, just turn them down flat. Then after the meeting, shine out like the sun by telling the folks how it should have been done. Don't do any more than you possibly can. Leave the work for some other woman or man. And when you see the faithful ones work themselves sick, then stand up and holler, see, it's run by a clique. If you want to kill the church. And somehow, I stayed there. But the next year, back to my notes. Sorry, I'm going to hurry this. I'm really going to do this. 2006, I did a sermon, and I used the word team, T-E-A-M. It's a great sermon. Wonderful. I had a great point. T-E-A-M. I cannot remember at all what they stood for, but it was a great sermon then. The following Monday, another board member's wife came up to the church. Great board member. And his wife said, by the way, Pastor, we just want you to know the word team is not in the Bible, and we're out of here. Boom, gone. That same week, the guy that I was training to lead worship, he comes to me and says, Pastor, I got a great job in Columbus. I'm going to go start making cars in Columbus. Boom, he's gone. The same week, a guy that I'd been training to be the youth leader comes to me and he says, by the way, I'm coming out of the closet. Boom. And he sent a letter to the district office that said that I could not let him be in a leadership position anymore. The district office called and said, don't feel you're fine. What a week that was. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. Are we having fun yet? Anybody? 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. Anything significant happen? I almost called on you. If this were an auction, I would have called on you because you put your hand up that high. That's all right. Let's keep going. I'll do quicker. 17 years ago, 2007, Megan's playing 7th grade volleyball. I decided to coach. Don't ask me how. I raised my hand and said, isn't anybody help? Nobody said, no, I guess I'll do it. Anybody, you ever do that? Isn't there anybody else? Okay, I'll do it. So I got to coach 7th grade volleyball, and I taught 10th grade volleyball. 16 years ago in 2008, I turned 45. The age that my parents were when I said they are so old. Wow. Wow. 15 years ago in 2009, Nathaniel's playing 7th grade football. Megan's doing great with volleyball. I got to play music for the games. 14 years ago, 2010, I wanted to quit being a pastor, and I just wanted to work for Verizon. Why work for Verizon? Because I thought I could do a customer service job in a back room without putting up with any people. Crazy, isn't it? I had an email from Verizon that stayed in my email box. I'm like, this could be my ticket out. Stick my ticket out. That same year, 2010, was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. Me and my brother said, Mom, Dad, what do you want to do for your 50th? They said, let's go to Alaska, because we spent most of our time in Alaska. So we had this big to-do 50th wedding anniversary from my parents up in Alaska. While we're sitting there, my cousin, Brian, he sits at the table. He goes, so what are you doing? I said, Brian, I have no idea. He goes, you know what you need to be? You need to be a hospice chaplain. I'm doing it. He goes, it's great. Listen, as soon as you get back from Alaska, go to Youngstown and you need to call the hospital and see if they have a CPE class, clinical pastoral education. Maybe the hospital has it. If they do, get in it as fast as you can because you're going to love it. We flew back to Youngstown from Anchorage on a Saturday, preached on a Sunday, took day off on Monday. Tuesday, I called St. E's Hospital. Listen, I'm just wondering, do you have a CPE class? Well, guess what? This is our first year having it, and there's only 7 seats, and we've got 1 seat left. If you get your money down here by Friday, perhaps you can interview for it. Boom! Decided to go to the office, type up what I need to do, put my thing in. I made the 7th seat in CPE class. And in 2011, I started being a full-time hospice chaplain. It's been the best decision, aside from accepting Christ and marrying Tammy, that I've ever made. 2012, 25 years of marriage. The sad part is I had no church. I didn't have any church to celebrate 25 years with us, because as soon as I resigned from Bethel, I became an interim pastor doing this. 25 years of marriage. The best thing was probably got 12 likes on my Facebook post when I said, happy 25 years, Tammy. It was the same year that Megan graduated from high school. Because we didn't have a church, she didn't get her name up there. And the coolest thing was her friends had a party for her. But that's okay, because guess what? God was with me every step of the way. I know you're getting tired of hearing it, but you need to hear it every step of the way. 2012, 25 years of ministry. 2013, Tammy's mom, B, begins to get sick more and more and more. In 2007, she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And actually, as soon as she was diagnosed, you know what she said? See, I told you something was wrong with me. Anybody ever been there? You know, like something ain't right. Something finally, this is what you got, 2007 or 2013. 2014, I switched job to the current position. 2015, Nathaniel graduated from high school, which we took a big breath on that. Man, he made it. 2016, I coached volleyball with Megan again, and also in 2016, that was the year that B passed, Tammy's mom. And can I tell you, some of you are right here, from 2016 to now, Mother's Day has not been the same since when your mom passes. It's just not the same. I'm sure she loves getting cards from the kids, the daughter-in-law and son-in-law, but it's just not the same. 2017, Nathaniel started climbing school. Climbing school, yeah, because he's a lineman for Ohio Edison. Megan started her PT program at Mount Union 6 years ago, 2018. Nathaniel graduated from Kent State. He started as a lineman, and that's the year that he met Jackie. 5 years ago, 2019, we had Megan and Rocco's wedding at St. Pete Beach, the best wedding. It was outdoor beach. It was so cool. 2 hours before, a thunderstorm went through. We weren't sure if we were going to have it. And after 2 hours, it cleared up, and we had a wedding on the beach for Megan and Rocco. That was 2019. 2020, COVID. My mom had a stroke. COVID started in March of 2020. My mom had her stroke in September, and life changed for my mom and dad ever since then. 2020. 2021, Nathaniel bought a house. Tammy was in the hospital for a week. 2022, Nathaniel and Jackie's wedding over in Pittsburgh. And last year, Megan and Rocco got a dog, and so we have a grand dog. But guess what? God was with me every step of the way. And just like on your list, he has been with you every step of the way. Mr. Tony, can we get the ushers? Come, we're going to finish with a prayer. And then, Stan, could we do that Goodness of God song again? Can we do that? I'm not sure if you need to pull that up back there, whatever. What time is it? Oh, 12:05. Oh, man. If you could just make sure that everybody gets one. Scatter you around for different parts. And we're going to finish with a prayer. Can we stand? We'll wait till everybody. Do not read ahead. I feel like a kindergarten teacher. Don't read. Turn your papers over. And we're going to read this prayer together. We okay? Everybody got some? Look like we got a group over here that still needs some. We can wait. Goodness. Don't hold me accountable for the extra 2 minutes here, okay? I tried my best. Probably could have shrunk it down, but chose not to, so sorry. Everybody got a prayer? We all right? They're still coming over that way? We need some more up here. Up here, Mr. Ken. Everybody over here got one? We okay? Anybody else? Feel free to pray it with me. Lord Jesus, as I grow older, I have a choice between counting my bruises or counting my blessings. I have the option to trust you or test you. I can grumble or give thanks. Before me is the decision of regretting my if-onlys or rejoicing in how you have provided. Please help me keep my mind and heart clear of clutter and confusion so I never forget who you are to me what you have done for me, and the bright promise of all that lies ahead with what you can do through me. In your name, amen. How cool is that, huh? You're just grateful that I'm finished preaching. That's all you're grateful for. Awesome. We're going to pray and then stand. If you could lead us in that song one more time. Father, I pray one more time for our graduates. They have a life in front of them. I pray that there will be definitely more days of laughing than crying. But I pray they'll learn lessons. I pray that they will learn to trust you. I pray for losses, but I also pray for crosses, that you will help them. Father, for those of us who have already graduated, we're miles down the road from that day when we graduated. Father, you have kept us through hills and valleys, but you have been so good. Yes. Forgive us when we jumped ship, because as Timothy said, when we were faithless, you were faithful. We so need to return to you on a regular basis. Please help us, remind us over and over again how good you are. You are faithful to us. And we'll be more than careful to give you the praise. And everybody said,